ago when I went to Ghana and I visited Elmina Castle. I bought a book called Ama, and Ama is a historical fiction book which is told from a young girl whose name is Ama, and it basically chronicles her life as she was kidnapped from her village, taken to the Ashanti kingdom, was a slave there, how she ended up being sold to the Europeans and ultimately being shipped off to the Americas. In the book, she talked about when she was on a slave ship and she was on there with different people from various African empires. And she was talking about how they didn't speak the same language, but they definitely knew they were in the same situation as far as them being taken, shipped, didn't know where they were going. And so they kind of banded together to help each other during this time, because of course at that, you know, they were fearful. It was a traumatic experience, and so they were there for each other to help each other during that very tumultuous time. And you know, reading that book and remembering the book just brings me to this day and age as far as why it still is difficult for Black people around the globe to really unify and to really come together when it comes to certain issues that we're all facing. It might be on a different continent, it might be you know, a different situation, but the issue and the challenges that many Black people around the globe face are pretty much the same. And you know, it's high time that we start to realize that and put away all this childish, foolish, back and forth situations that seem to be constantly going on, and just definitely nonstop. Now, social media definitely has not done a very good job of trying to keep the foolery and the silliness at bay. Anybody can post anything on social media nowadays. It doesn't even matter if it is misinformation. It doesn't matter if it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't matter if it's just way off the wall. People will post something on social media. There will be people that watch it, and people actually will take what they see and think that it's the gospel, and they will start believing it and they will start following it. And it's just like, really? Yeah, the whole thing baffles me. So I'm going to show you all a YouTube short that goes into exactly what I'm talking about. The foolery that people just post on social media, and why this type of, just to me, nonsense is the reason why that there will never be any type of, or I wouldn't say never be, but why the connection to connect all Black people in around the globe, why it's almost nearly too impossible, because we have people like this man posting this kind of stuff on social media.
I want to get as many African Americans back home to Africa as I possibly can, because I know the day they move back.
Couple conditions, and I'm speaking on behalf of all Black American citizens. We need an abundance of hot water, no shortages at all. Internet better be as good as it is here in America, which is still trash, so it better at least be up to those standards. Look, Black power, ooh, ooh, ooh. No, okay, we need some Latinas, we need some Asians, we need a little bit of everything. We need some seasoning over there too. There need to be nice. Away from unhappy Americans wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Now, if I get there and I hear we are not the same, I am African, you are Black, why would I leave one racist country to go to the same thing? Tell me. Those are our conditions. If you can think of more, add them in the comments.
The one thing about social media, you have to, half the time you don't know what's real and what's fake. You know, people put stuff on here and you just say, okay, are they for real, or is this just something that they just trying to put on here for clout? Now, I'm not for certain if he is being for real. I'm going to say that he's being for real, okay? Because I looked on his channel, I didn't see anything about some people like to put pranks and things like that. So I didn't see any of that. So I'm just going to assume that what he said was what he felt. And so I'm going to address it as so. You know, this is the reason why there's division between black immigrants, people from the African continent, and black Americans because of this type of stuff that's on social media. It's okay for people to have beliefs about something. It's okay for people to have opinions about something. But when a person starts to put misinformation in those opinions and beliefs, and you have people on social media looking at that and thinking that it's true, that's when it becomes a problem. People can put anything on social media. They don't do no homework. They don't read. They don't do no research. They don't do anything. They just put something up there. And then you have viewers who would rather look at a YouTube video or would rather look at a TikTok than to actually open up a book and read. And nowadays, you don't even need to open up a book and read. You can literally open up Google and read. I mean, that's how quick it is and how easy it is. And some people don't want to do that. They would rather for them to just go and click on a TikTok video, look at something that somebody has made that they know is bogus, but they will end up believing it. And this is just an example of that. Let's get on into kind of this video. So the first thing that he talked about that I need to call out is he talking about this applies to all black Americans. Well, we already know that that's not true. Okay, I'm black American. Everything he said, I thought you need to cut it out and stop it. The first thing he talked about was hot water. Now, we can already tell that he ain't stepped outside the United States of America, number one. Number two, we can already tell that he hasn't stepped anywhere inside of America. Because if he would have even stepped in some places in America, he would realize that there are some people out there struggling for the various things that he's claiming that the African continent does not have. There are a lot of rural areas in the United States of America that does not have very good internet, and the water is not even all that good. I can talk about where I'm from. In small areas where I'm from, the internet is awful. If you go to certain places, you're not getting any coverage. You're not getting not coverage. You're not getting any service. The internet is not all that good. Now, the water is fine, but I have heard some people talk about in certain rural areas where they're having to scrounge around for water just like they were in an underdeveloped nation. We have some places in the United States of America where people are literally living below the poverty line. They're living below it. And I think what many Americans forget is that not everybody in America is doing well. Not everybody in America is prospering. Not everybody in America has internet, has TV, has phones, has running water, has all those things that a lot of people in America might have, but there are equal amount of people who don't have. And people forget that there are people in the United States living below the poverty line. They shouldn't be, but they are. So when you have comments like that, as if no hot water and no internet is just conducive to the African continent, that just lets you know, lets it be known that number one, you haven't done any homework, you haven't done any research, you don't even know what's going on in the United States of America, let alone trying to talk about what you think could be happening in the African continent. The whole Black Power thing really got me, because he's not the only black person I've heard say those comments. As far as black people, we're supposed to be inclusive. He wants to go over to the African continent and think he's going to see Latinos and Asians and whatever else in the African continent, when those same people don't even want Africans in their continent and in their countries. Make me understand that. Why does the African continent need to be sprinkled with seasoning when you go to these other continents and other countries? They don't want to be sprinkled with Africans. I'm a little confused. I'm a little confused. It's only in the black community, when it comes to black people, that we want to always be inclusive. We want to include everybody. But then it's okay for them to constantly exclude us. They don't have a problem with saying, no, this ain't for you. Okay? This ain't for you if you're not Asian. This ain't for you. Okay? Keep moving. If you're not Hispanic, this ain't for you. Keep it moving. Okay? If you're not this, you need to keep it moving. These other races don't have a problem with excluding us. We get excluded all the time, and we just take it and roll with it. But when it's time for us to be exclusive, oh no, you have to include everybody. Oh, we're always so inclusive. Black power and not being exclusive with that black power is the reason why black people are are struggling. Black Americans are struggling right now. Because we're not exclusive when it comes to black power. We need to be exclusive when it comes to that. That's only how it's going to work within the black community, how it's going to work with black people around the world, when we start being exclusive when it comes to that black power, because everybody else is exclusive when it comes to theirs. And that's the reason why their communities are constantly growing, because there are some things that you have to be exclusive about. It has to be exclusive to your people. It has to be exclusive to your community in order for that power to continue to grow, and in order for that wealth to continue to grow. And unfortunately, black people have not got that understanding yet, which is the reason why they keep including people into the spaces where there doesn't need to be. So, you know, that whole black power thing, yeah, he's totally lost. Now, this is where he contradicts himself, because he said he don't want to go over there and not feel the same, but then you made a whole video that clearly shows and lets people know that you don't feel like you're the same as somebody from the African continent. So why would you want to go to an African continent and be treated the same when you made a whole video that made it clear that you don't even consider yourself the same as they are? You've already put yourself in a superiority complex. These are the standards that you want to be followed, and if it's not followed, then sorry, you know, we're not going over there. You've already created a differentiation. So how are you expecting somebody to treat you the same if you have already made it clear that you're not the same? And what's funny about the Diaspora Wars that I think is pretty hilarious and pretty funny is that it really is all about superiority. That's really what it is. Seeped in colonialism. Black people know that when it comes to the globe, when it comes to around the world, we are at the lowest of the totem pole. We are the main ones that people discriminate against. We're the main ones that people are racist against. We're the main ones that are excluded from so many things around the world. And that is because black people have no power. And so until we gain that, the respect is not going to be there. And so you have some people then that say, oh, because I can't be superior to everybody else, I'm going to then create a superiority complex within my own people, within people that look like me. So what they do with the Diaspora Wars, they start to create divisions in order for them to gain some type of superiority, which is what he's trying to do. I live in the United States of America. I have hot water. I have good internet. It might not be good all the time, but I have good internet. I'm able to date a variety of different types of people. You know, all these different things he feels like makes him better than somebody from the African continent. And that's really what the Diaspora Wars is all about. It's trying to be better than somebody. You know, you can't be better than the other races in the world, but you definitely can be better than the African. You definitely can be better than the Haitian. You definitely can be better than the Jamaican. You definitely can be better than the Black American. So when you start doing that, you feel like you're better than somebody, even if that means that you have to be better than somebody that looks like you. And at the end of the day, are going to the same challenges, the same issues in some form or fashion in various situations around the world. And instead of black people focusing on that fact, on the common enemy that black people face around the globe, this is what they concentrate on. They concentrate on how can we further divide ourselves so that I can feel like I'm better than. A lot of the talking points that you hear people say when it comes to the African continent are all talking points that they have just heard other people in social media say. Most of them haven't experienced any of these things. They might not have even talked to anybody from the African continent ever. Might have never came in contact with a person from the African continent in their lifetime. But they have heard people say these things on social media, and they think it's the gospel and they think it's the truth. And they start saying these same talking points all over social media. And it's like, when are you going to get to the point where you at least going to try to somewhat think for yourselves? We all know that when you go to the African continent, depending on where you're going, racism is not going to be an issue. There are a lot of videos out there, since people want to rely on social media, on videos. There's a lot of videos where people are actually living in the African continent where they would tell you that they have not experienced any type of racism whatsoever. I have been to Ghana 5 times. And even in 2003, when I first came there, when I first went, and it was not a very good experience for me. It wasn't a very good experience for me because of the people. The people did not make it not a very good experience for me. It was not anything that they did whatsoever. I never felt any type of racism or anything like that, or disdain, hate, or whatever. Even in 2003, I've never felt that in Ghana, ever. So when people say that, it's usually because they have come in contact with one person from the African continent that just happened to be that person, and so they decided they want to say, oh, all of Africa don't like black Americans, and yada yada yada. And it's just like, you can't base this whole ideology, or whatever y'all want to call it, on one individual that you just happen to come across, because that's just like saying all black Americans dislike black immigrants, when we all know that's not true. We all know that there might, definitely are some black Americans who don't, but you can't put everybody in the same category. And that seems like what he is doing. I don't even think that he has ever met anybody from the African continent whatsoever, because if he did, he wouldn't even say half the things that he's saying. A lot of stuff that he's saying on this video are all talking points that I've heard everywhere on social media, and it's like, okay, if you're going to continue with the Diaspora Wars, at least give us something else. Okay, stop saying the same old talking points every single time, because that in itself is getting a little old when you're talking about people from the African continent. You know what, this poor guy, somebody take him to the African continent so he can see what it's really like, because this right here, that right there is the problem. And that's all I have to say on that. I am Michele Mazelleغ. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.